Present us, O Lord, in all our doings with thy most gracious favour, and further us with thy continual help, that in all our works, begun, continued, and ended in thee, we may glorify thy holy name, and finally by thy mercy attain everlasting life. Amen. Introduction of guests. I recognize the Minister of Health.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I ask leave for an extended introduction.
The Minister has requested leave for an extended introduction. Is leave granted?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. To you and through you, we're honoured to welcome a dedicated group of individuals who are at the heart of improving cardiovascular health outcomes here in Saskatchewan. The Heart and Stroke Foundation has been a national leader in the fight against heart disease and stroke for over 70 years. And through groundbreaking research, advocacy, health policy, and community engagement, Heart and Stroke continues to push for better prevention, better treatment, and recovery across Canada. Their collaboration with provincial health systems and lived experience partners is key to advancing patient-centred care and policy innovation for us here at the Ministry of Health. Now, joining us from the Heart and Stroke Foundation are Carolyn Sear, give us a wave, Carolyn, Director of Health Policy and Systems, who leads strategic efforts to improve health outcomes through policy change and system-level transformation. We also have Effie Cosmas, who is the Provincial Mission Specialist, who works closely with Saskatchewan communities, partners, and health leaders to bring Heart and Stroke's mission to life on the ground. Also from the Saskatchewan Health Authority, we are pleased to welcome several clinical and operational leaders who are driving advancements in cardiac care delivery. We have Amber Gorman, who is the Manager of Non-Interventional Cardiology, Erin Peck, who's a registered nurse at the Heart Function Clinic, Shannon Duncan, a registered nurse with the Regina Heart Function Clinic, Stephen Klotz, Director of Cardio Sciences in Regina, Carrie Heisuk, the Executive Director of Tertiary Care in Regina. And I'll just stop for a second, Mr. Speaker, and offer my personal thanks to Carrie for all of her work on the Regina Breast Health Centre. Carrie has been integral in that, and Carrie, we've talked a lot about that. So, on behalf, I know I've thanked you in person, Carrie, but on behalf of the government of Saskatchewan, in front of the whole legislature, and thank you very much for what you've done for the women of southern Saskatchewan. We also have Dr. Andrea Lavoie, who is the Division Head of Cardiology in Regina. I've had the opportunity to meet with Dr. Lavoie several times, somebody who does incredible work here in the capital city for patients from all over the southern half of this province. But more importantly, Mr. Speaker, we're especially grateful to be joined by patient and family partners whose voices and lived experience continue to shape a more responsive and compassionate healthcare system. Joining us today, we have Scott and Kathy Bradford from Moose Jaw, and Chantel Gold from Regina. Together, this group represents a powerful cross-section of clinical expertise, policy leadership, and most importantly, lived experience, all working towards a common goal: improving heart health and outcomes for the people of this great province. Mr. Speaker, I would ask all members to join me in welcoming this group to their legislature. Here, here. Now, while I'm on my feet, Mr. Speaker, I'm also honoured to introduce some very special guests in the gallery, some survivors, advocates, and champions from Ovarian Cancer Canada. This organization is driven by hope, determination, and the belief that ovarian cancer can and must be eradicated. They are here to demand action, to deliver change, and most importantly, to support the thousands of Canadian women who face this disease each year. Ovarian Cancer Canada is driving research forward, unlocking insights into rarer forms of the disease, and accelerating the development of new life-saving treatment options. Today, we're lucky to be joined by some of the incredibly strong women behind this movement, survivors who are living proof of why this work matters. Jackie Cherwinuk, a 6-year survivor from Regina. Terry Krukaluch, a 3-year breast and ovarian cancer survivor from Regina. Laura Horak, a 10-year survivor from Southie. Brenda Tunstad, a 5-year survivor from Regina. Gwyn Cowie, a 3-year survivor from Regina. Ann Chase, a 27-year survivor from Regina. And Stephanie Gosselin, Programs Director with Ovarian Cancer Canada. Mr. Speaker, we've spoken on this floor many times about how cancer touches families across this province, families represented in this legislature, Mr. Speaker. So I would ask all members to join me in welcoming these courageous women and thanking Ovarian Cancer Canada for the vital work they do to transform outcomes, bring hope, and ultimately save lives. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
I recognize the member from Saskatoon Fairview.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to join in with the minister opposite on behalf of the official opposition as our Shadow Minister of Health in welcoming all of these guests here today. I'll start with the Ovarian Cancer Canada delegation. Thank you for joining us here in your assembly today. Thank you for all of the work that you do in supporting women, in supporting research through and supporting families through what is often a terrifying journey for folks. So to Jackie, Terry, Laura, Brenda, Gwyn, Anne, and Stephanie, thank you for all of the work that you do to support women across this province. I would also like to join with the minister in welcoming the delegation from the Heart and Stroke Foundation, the SHA, and patient partners that have joined us here today. Carolyn Sear, Effie Cosmas, Amber Gorman, Aaron Peck, Shannon Duncan, Stephen Klotz, Carrie Husick, Dr. Lavoie, Scott and Kathy Bradford, and Chantel Gould. I understand that you're here as part of Heart Failure Awareness Week. We had the pleasure, several members on this side of the Assembly had the pleasure to participate in the cardiac crash training course this year and also last year, and to learn more about what to do in emergency situations, which I think helps us to be better community members. We know that as MLAs, we're sort of out and about all the time. So I think we have a responsibility to know what to do in those emergency situations as well. So thanks for your continued advocacy, for being here today, and for the continued relationship with members on both sides of the House. So I'd ask all members to join me in welcoming all of these guests here today.
I recognize the Minister of Arts, Culture and Sport.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I request leave for an extended introduction.
Minister's requested leave for an extended introduction. Is leave granted?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. To you and through you, it is my great pleasure to introduce to you two guests seated in your gallery today. Joining us, we have Casey Loney, who I will tell you more about in this introduction, and with her is Harvey Lennon with the Regular Royal United Services Institute. I had the great pleasure of meeting with Kelsey earlier this morning. She is a very passionate educator, speaker, military historian, and author from Southern Saskatchewan. Kelsey is preparing a very intriguing book about how prairie women were the backbone of the home front during World War II. This book was inspired by her grandmother's intriguing story about who joined hundreds of women from our province in the Women's Land Army. These women traveled across the country to harvest produce and lead agricultural efforts when the young men enlisted to go overseas to fight for our country. Kelsey has gathered letters, newspapers, photographs, and conducted interviews to build this compelling story of Saskatchewan women who fed the Army and the world. Mr. Speaker, today marks the 80th anniversary of Victory in Europe Day. On such a significant day, it is important to recognize the sacrifices that were made, both overseas and at home, to protect the nation we know and love today. Thank you, Kelsey, for all the hard work that you do to support our veterans and bring such incredible Saskatchewan stories to life. I ask all members to please join me in welcoming Kelsey and Harvey to their Legislative Assembly.
I recognize the member from Saskatoon Stonebridge.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to join the member opposite in welcoming Kelsey and Harvey. As a school teacher for 17 years, in particular when I taught social studies, it was always important to me to find ways to connect our youth to the stories, in particular, of those who fought and defeated fascism in particular on this 80th VE anniversary. So with that, again, I just join with the minister to say thank you for honoring the history of those who paid the ultimate sacrifice and those who continue to do so. I look forward to reading some of the articles that you've put forward. So thank you.
As Minister of Government Relations.
Request leave for an extended introduction.
Minister has requested leave for an extended introduction. Is leave granted?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Sitting in the Speaker's gallery, I'd like to welcome Rod Nazowicz to his Legislative Assembly. Rod, if you could stand and give us a wave. He is joined by his sons Jake and Carl, as well as his mother Claudia and sister Sandra. Rod is currently the Executive Director of Policy and Program Services at the Ministry of Government Relations, and after 26 years in the public service, he is retiring this year, Mr. Speaker. He is in fact, and he told me that he is not doing it because of the current Minister of Government Relations, which is a relief. He is in fact retiring on the final day of this spring sitting, which only demonstrates how dedicated he is to public service, Mr. Speaker. We've got a pretty good relationship, him and I, and we joke from time to time and tease each other, as you saw just now. He's staying on just long enough to make sure that myself and the ministry stay on track. My colleagues in the House may recognize him from the volunteer work just outside this building that he does every year, Mr. Speaker. Rod has joined Regina area MLAs and other staff to flip pancakes at the Canada Day breakfast here in Wascana Centre. And in a province of volunteers, I think we all know what it takes, that it takes focused and dedicated person to ensure that everyone at a pancake breakfast line gets breakfast. As I said, Rod has 26 years with the public service. He spent a few years with Treasury Board first, but has spent the last 15 in various roles of the Government Relations Policy Shop. He has served as the Director of Legislation and Regulations, and most recently as Executive Director of Policy and Program Services. Rod has overseen a diverse range of policy and legislative initiatives on behalf of the ministry and amended the legislative and regulatory frameworks from time to time. Through this, he has built a solid relationship with our stakeholders, including representatives from SARM and SUMA. I know he is proud of his work and of his team to build and maintain those relationships, and he is to be commended for keeping in mind those who we are trying to serve through this legislation. By all accounts, it's not only your expertise and professionalism, Rod, that will be missed at the ministry, but your humor and positivity, which has really built a strong community there. I've only been the Minister of Government Relations for a short time, but I can say that Rod is an incredible example of the great work of our public servants and the wealth of knowledge they possess. Our public servants do on behalf of what the citizens of our province require every day, selflessly. Rod has immediate plans to travel with his two sons. The three of them are headed to Amsterdam first. I wish Rod the best of luck with that and his well-earned retirement. I would ask all members of the House to please join me in wishing Rod well, thanking him for his service, and welcoming him to his Legislative Assembly.
I recognize the member from Regina Walsh Acres.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It's a privilege to join with the minister and congratulating Rod on his soon-to-be retirement and welcome him to his Legislative Assembly here. I've only had the honor of being municipal affairs as long as the minister has been minister, so it's been a short time. So I only got to grill the minister and subsequently Rod in estimates once. So I appreciated his answers, and of course, 26 years as a civil servant is truly commendable. And I want to thank you on behalf of the official opposition for your commitment to Saskatchewan people for all 26 of those years. I know when you have a civil servant who has been a part of the team for that long, you have an incredible wealth of knowledge on the workings of government, and it is truly a sad day to lose that wisdom and that knowledge when someone like Rod retires. And so I know he's earned it, though, definitely after 26 years. So Thank you to your family for being here today to celebrate with you, and congratulations. Enjoy your travel, and thank you again for what you have done for Saskatchewan people. I wish all members to join me in welcoming and congratulating Rod on his retirement next week.
I recognize the member from Moose Jaw, Waccamaw.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. To you and through you, I am proud to introduce my constituency assistant, Denise Mackey. Can you just wave? To the Assembly. I was fortunate enough to get to know Denise through Warren Mitchelson, previous MLA from Moose Jaw North, who served his constituency well. Denise is experienced, she takes charge, she's organized, and the best thing about her, though, is that she's a people person. I can't tell you how many times I've been out in the city of Moose Jaw and people say to me, come up to me and say, your constituency assistant, she's amazing. She is so good. You are so lucky. And I say, I know. And I truly am appreciative for everything she does. There is no one else that I would rather represent me in Moose Jaw than Denise. So please join me in welcoming Denise to her Legislative Assembly. While I'm on my feet, Mr. Speaker, I'd just like to send a quick hello and welcome to Carrie from the Breast Health Center. Carrie and I actually grew up together figure skating. So we figure skated in the Moose Jaw Connect Figure Skating Club for many years. And the best thing about living in Saskatchewan is the connections that you reestablish over time. So when I first walked into the Breast Health Center for my tour, I was shocked and so happy to see Carrie. And I am just so proud of what she's become and the work that she is doing to help women in this province. So please join me in welcoming Carrie once again.
I recognize the member from Saskatoon University Sutherland.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. To you and through you, I would like to welcome 50 grade 8 students from Roland Middle School and their teachers, Christine Helmuth and Susan Lutkin, and their many parents joined them. This school is very special to me. Our son went to Roland Middle School from grade 1 to 8. I have lots of memories there, going to the parent-teacher meetings, soccer games, basketball games, Christmas concerts, musical events, and many more. It's a great school, Mr. Speaker. I would like to see you after the question period, and I will ask all the members to please join me to welcome Roland Middle School students and their teachers and parents.
I recognize the Minister of Highways.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would be remiss if I didn't stand and say welcome to Rod. Rod and I worked together when I was obviously on the SARM board, and I got to know Rod through that. And Rod, just on behalf of the government, but I want to say it in front of everybody, to your family, that the work that you did for the province of Saskatchewan was incredible. And I want to thank you for that and your dedication to the municipal world. So thank you very much, Rod. Ask everybody to welcome Rod to his assembly.
I recognize the member from Saskatoon Churchill-Wildwood.
Hello, Mr. Speaker. To you and through you, I wanted to also extend a warm invitation to the teachers and the teachers and students at Roland Michener School. That was a neighborhood that I grew up in. Susan Lutkin, or Yakimowski, as I knew her, we've been friends for about 30 years. She's also a resident of the great riding of Churchill-Wildwood. Mr. Speaker, my understanding is one of the rules of this legislature is that we're not allowed to sing, which is probably for everyone's benefit. I do remember the school song from many, many years ago, which perhaps I can teach to some of the students later. So again, warm welcome to your legislature.
I recognize Minister of Advanced Education.
Thanks very much, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to join with members opposite in welcoming Roland Michener School. It's a right on the border of my constituency in East College Park. I'm glad we're not singing in the House today because I wouldn't be able to keep up to members opposite on that. But I want to thank the teachers and the chaperones and the students coming from Roland-Michener School, a very well-regarded school in the city of Saskatoon. Thank you for making the effort to come here, and I hope that your day is enjoyable. Thank you.
I recognize the member from Regina South Albert.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Request leave for extended introduction.
Member has requested leave for an extended introduction. Is leave granted?
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. To you and through you, it is my privilege to welcome 54 remarkable people to this Saskatchewan legislature. I have the privilege today of hosting 50 students from Marion McVitie Elementary, an exceptional school in the heart of Regina South Albert. When I served as a trustee with Regina Public, it was one of the schools that I was lucky enough to have a really close relationship with, Mr. Speaker. About 15 years ago. 15 years ago, this was a school community that was really worried potentially about having to close. They'd seen their population shrink, Mr. Speaker, and they were worried about what was going to happen to them as a school kind of in the heart of our city, Mr. Speaker. And then, unfortunately, through the terrible civil war in Syria, of course, Saskatchewan welcomed a number of families. And I believe Marion McVitie, this small wee school in the heart of Hillsdale, ended up taking in, I believe, 80 of the 180 odd families that moved to Regina who joined that school community. And that's when I had the opportunity to really engage with the Marion McVitie school community, which is like so diverse, Mr. Speaker. I think they have students from over 80 countries in this one small school. They just do wonderful community events. They have one of the most engaged groups of parents and teachers I would submit anywhere in the city, Mr. Speaker. And these are just such bright, remarkable students. They all want to make the world a better place. They're deeply interested in politics in their community, and they're accompanied today by their teachers, Holly Park, Darcia Vandelders. Oh God, this is spelled hopefully accurately on this. Apologies for butchering your name if it's misspelled here, but Van Elderstein, Rodel Laloquin, and Joan Miller here today, Mr. Speaker. So one more time, please wave at these wonderful students from McVitie and welcome them to their legislative assembly. And while I'm on my feet, Mr. Speaker, I feel like the luckiest person in the legislature today. I'm also pleased to have just a remarkable constituent seated in your gallery who I know has been welcomed so warmly and capably by members in this assembly. But I want to give a special shout out to Mr. Harvey Lennon, who I'm so proud to have as a constituent. He's a recent recipient of the Saskatchewan volunteer medal and just a champion, of course, for RUSI, as well as for the arts here in Saskatchewan, Mr. Speaker. Just an incredible life of service and commitment. And Harvey, I'm so proud to have you as a constituent. So thanks for joining us here today.
I recognize the member from Saskatoon Riversdale.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. To you and through you, I'd like to welcome in the West Gallery Mr. David Kaister. Dave has been a volunteer and member of the Saskatchewan Drag Racing Association, which runs Saskatchewan International Raceway, for a very long time. He's been a racer longer than I've been alive. I think he was a racer before my dad even got involved, but I'll stop there. Apologies. Just to say that he's been on the executive on and off for several years. He's been past president and president of the Drag Racing Association and a volunteer on many committees. He's from Saskatoon, so I'm very pleased that he was able to make his way down to Regina today to be present for me to share more about the racetrack and what they do. He's also a single dad to one son, and another high adrenaline hobby of his, which I understand his team has had some success in, is bowling. So I understand there's a provincial competition that they've made it to. So please join me in welcoming Dave to his Legislative Assembly.
I recognize the Minister of Advanced Education.
Thanks very much, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to join with the member opposite in welcoming Dave Keister to his Legislative Assembly and thank him for the work that he does with the Saskatchewan Drag Racing Association. The association does great work in encouraging people to move racing away from public streets to controlled environments, and we thank them for that and the great entertainment that they provide for residents of Saskatoon and area and across the province. I look forward to meeting with Dave and the member opposite after question period. Thank you.
And she's looking the other way, but somebody forgot my cell phone number, I guess, when she came to the ledge today. So Dr. Lavoie, that is normally in my community, her father. So you wonder sometimes, how do you train, recruit, and retain doctors? And so what I've watched personally is you have a family who's totally dedicated to their province and to the people around them. And her father's been working to make Melfort a center of excellence. I'm sure she's heard that term thousands of times in her household. And Andrea, welcome to your legislative building. Thank you for staying in Saskatchewan and all that you do to serve the people of our province. Presenting petitions, I recognize the member from Saskatoon Churchill Wildwood.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It's my pleasure to rise to present a petition calling to address the housing crisis in Saskatchewan through affordable homes and tenant protections. We, the undersigned residents of the province of Saskatchewan, wish to bring to your attention the following. The cost of housing and rental housing in Saskatchewan has skyrocketed, making it increasingly difficult for many individuals and families to secure stable and affordable housing. The absolutely disastrous changes to SIS and SED have meant that over the past decade, homelessness has surged, pushing people onto the streets. Meanwhile, the government has made drastic cuts to housing programs. Those on supports have seen benefits cut, and more of their income assistance is going to rent than ever before. We in the press and the allocation of resources towards the development of second-stage housing and crisis shelters. The members signing this petition are residents of the City of Regina. I do so present, Mr. Speaker.
I recognize the member from Regina Coronation Park.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We, the undersigned resident of the province of Saskatchewan, wish to bring to your attention the following. That inflation is the highest it's been in more than 3 decades. That half of the Saskatchewan residents were living paycheck to paycheck before transportation and food costs skyrocketed in 2022. That the Sask Party government 32 new tax and fee hikes makes life more expensive, all while harming struggling industries like tourism, culture, and fitness. While other provinces acted, the Sask Party government ignored the opposition calls for a gas price relief plan. I will read the prayer. We in the prayer that read as follows: respectfully request the Legislative Assembly of Saskatchewan to call on the Government of Saskatchewan to meaningfully address the affordability crisis in Saskatchewan. Mr. Speaker, the signatory of this petition reside in Saskatoon. I do so present.
I recognize the member from Regina Rochdale.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The urgency to address stability in funding and childcare is rising day by day, and so I have a petition to present regarding the federal-provincial childcare agreement. The undersigned residents of the province of Saskatchewan wish to bring to your attention the following: that the federal government renewed its $10 child agreement with 11 other provinces and territories till 2031. Saskatchewan is one of the 2 jurisdictions that have not renewed the agreement. Without access to affordable and accessible childcare, families will be forced to leave the workforce, which will have impacts on our economy and our communities. I'll read the prayer. We, in the prayer that reads as follows, respectfully request the Legislative Assembly of Saskatchewan call on the Government of Saskatchewan to immediately renew the federal-provincial child care agreement to save jobs, help families, and boost our economy. Mr. Speaker, this petition has been signed by the citizens of Saskatoon, and I do so present.
I recognize the member from Saskatoon Centre.
Miigwech, Mr. Speaker, I'm pleased to present this petition calling for improved mental health services for northern and rural Saskatchewan. The folks who signed this petition wish to bring to your attention the following. The rate of suicide among Indigenous people is 3 times higher than that of non-Indigenous people. Suicide rates of Indigenous people living on reserve are twice as high as those living off reserve. Historical and ongoing impacts of colonization, displacement, and intergenerational trauma are related to the high rates of suicide among Indigenous people. The government has a role to play in destigmatizing mental health and addictions. I'll read the prayer. We, in the prayer that reads as follows, respectfully request that the Legislative Assembly of Saskatchewan call on the Government of Saskatchewan to address and work with vulnerable communities in the north and rural areas, and to improve adequate mental health funding and services for northern and rural Indigenous communities. The folks who signed this petition reside in Saskatoon. I do so present.
I recognize the member from, just a second, reading and receiving petitions, statements by members. I recognize the member from Carrot River.
Mr. Speaker, May 4th to 10th is Heart Failure Awareness Week, and this year I've been asked by Heart and Stroke to help raise awareness. Mr. Speaker, heart failure is a serious and growing problem in Canada. In Saskatchewan, there are almost 24,000 people that are currently living with heart failure, and 3,200 people are diagnosed with this complex and incurable condition each year. Despite the staggering numbers of people living with heart failure, 4 in 10 Canadians do not understand what heart failure is. Heart failure is a chronic condition caused by the heart not functioning as it should or a problem with its structure. It can happen if the heart is too weak or too stiff, or both. Heart failure is a leading cause of hospitalizations, with over 2,200 hospital admissions every year across this province. Thankfully, the heart function clinics in Regina and Saskatoon are providing exceptional multidisciplinary care to patients to help keep people healthy at home. We know that early diagnosis and intervention are key to preventing the progression of heart failure. We need to do more to raise awareness on what heart failure is, the signs and symptoms, how to reduce the risk, and how to better support those living with this complex and incurable condition. So this Heart Failure Awareness Week, Mr. Speaker, I encourage everyone to learn more and to visit Heart and Stroke's website at heartandstroke.ca to find out more. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
I recognize the member from Saskatoon-Riversdale.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. As past president and currently fastest SGRA racing member, we'll see what the new season brings. I rise today to celebrate the opening of the 2025 racing season at Saskatchewan International Raceway this upcoming weekend. This iconic venue, located just outside Saskatoon, has long been a cornerstone of motorsport enthusiasm in our province. In fact, it is Western Canada's oldest drag strip, having been built in 1966. The track plays an important role in deterring illegal street racing by providing a safe and regulated alternative. The track also has a junior program, which helps meet the demand for teenagers wanting to drive fast, but also it's a way for families to use drag racing as a learning tool and a conduit for family bonding. The Saskatchewan International Raceway is more than just a track. It's a community hub that fosters camaraderie and showcases incredible talent. Each season, it attracts thousands of visitors, contributing to our economy and putting Saskatchewan on the map as a destination for world-class motorsport events. As we look ahead to the 2025 season, I want to commend the dedicated team at the Raceway for their hard work and commitment to delivering an exceptional experience for fans and racers alike. Their passion for this sport and their community is truly inspiring. I encourage all members of this legislature and residents of Saskatchewan to mark their calendars and join in the excitement as the 2025 season kicks off. Thank you.
I recognize the member from Moose Jaw, Waccamaw.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Today, on World Ovarian Cancer Day, we pause to recognize the strength and resilience of those facing the world's most women's fatal cancer. Every day in Canada, 8 people are diagnosed with ovarian cancer. Each diagnosis is not just a statistic, but a life forever changed. A mother, a sister, a daughter, a friend. We know that early prevention, particularly through genetic testing and personalized care, can save lives. Right here in Saskatchewan, ongoing research is driving transformative discoveries in personalized care, improving outcomes, expanding treatment options, and offering new hope to those affected by ovarian cancer. We are proud to support the work of Ovarian Cancer Canada, the only national charity solely focused on overcoming this disease. Their advocacy, research leadership, and dedication to families across the country is helping to change the narrative. Mr. Speaker, our government believes that no one should have to face ovarian cancer alone or in silence. Today, we stand with those who are fighting, we honor those we've lost, and we commit to building a future where this disease is no longer a threat to women's lives.
I recognize the member from Saskatoon University Sutherland.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm speaking today to recognize First Nations University of Canada and their contributions to advanced education in Saskatchewan. This past February, I had the privilege of touring 2 of their campuses, one of which is in Saskatoon University Sutherland. The Saskatoon campus is operated on the urban reserve and on Treaty 6 territory, the homeland of Métis Nation. First Nations University's Regina campus is a very unique and beautiful facility. During my visits, I learned that the Saskatchewan Indian Federated College was first founded in May 1976 and then renamed to First Nations University of Canada in 2003. Since then, they have developed and refined Indigenous degree programs in partnership with the University of Regina. First Nations University provides a learning environment that integrate Indigenous perspectives, culture, and history, which preparing students for success. Mr. Speaker, I would also like to take a moment to recognize the students who are finishing their studies at this university as they continue to make up an integral piece of our province. These students will provide new and unique perspective, which will build a better future in Saskatchewan in both Indigenous and non-Indigenous communities alike. Thank you.
I recognize the member from Kenora College.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would like to take this opportunity to recognize the Kenora Cobras senior hockey team. On Saturday, March 22nd, the Cobras defeated the Rocanville Tigers 5-3 to win the best-of-5 league championship series, sweeping the Tigers 3-0. The Cobras are the champions of the Sask East Hockey League, and the win comes as sweet revenge for the Cobras after being swept in the final last year by the same Rocanville Tigers. After taking Game 1 in Rocanville with a 5-3 win on March 16th, the Cobras continued the momentum with a 5-4 overtime win in Game 2 in Kenora on March 21st, and completed the sweep the next evening in Rocanville with another 5-3 victory to eliminate the Tigers. I had the pleasure of watching the Cobras in action many games throughout the season this winter, and it was no surprise that they went on to be the league champs. The head coach, Darren Schwartz, was also named Coach of the Year for the second year in a row, and Carter Duranowski, born and raised in Kenora, received the Sask East Hockey League Rookie of the Year award. I want to acknowledge everyone on the team roster that had a part in such a successful season. Mr. Speaker, I again want to congratulate the entire coaching staff, volunteers, and the many fans that were responsible for the Cobras becoming the league champs. Thank you.
I recognize the member from Saskatoon, Churchill-Wildwood.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, it's a pleasure to talk about the Ukrainian reception and private members bill that I introduced about a week ago. The reception was amazing. Traditional food, music, many leaders from the Ukrainian community here in Saskatchewan. Legislation like this, Mr. Speaker, metaphorically opens the great doors of this building and invites people, their dreams, their history, and their culture into this building, their legislature. As a Ukrainian Canadian, it also opens the door to my Baba's house, a tiny house in Churchill-Wildwood that always seemed to be filled with the smells of Christmas and the noise of family. Her language, her meals, and the way she looked at me sweetly filled me not just with love, Mr. Speaker, but a sense that I was part of a culture and a nationality and a history that was 1,000 years old. Mr. Speaker, we will always find things to disagree about in this chamber, but this is not one of them. Mr. Speaker, this is an important moment in history. I pray and hope each day that the good guy wins. The people of Saskatchewan have never shrunk away from history when they called us, Mr. Speaker. This is an opportunity for us all together to state what side of history we are on. Both Manitoba and Ontario passed similar legislation. The Minister of Finance about a week ago said something to the effect that no government had done more to help the people of Ukraine. Let's together make that statement true, Mr. Speaker. Let's pass this legislation all its steps. It is never too soon to do the right thing.
I recognize the member from Lumsden North.
Mr. Speaker, today we celebrate and remember the end of the Second World War in Europe, or Victory in Europe Day. World War II was an absolute global conflict that didn't end until Japan surrendered on August the 14th, 1945. And by the end of World War II, an estimated 60 to 80 million had died, including up to 55 million civilians. The war in Europe started when Germany invaded Poland on September 1st, 1939. Canada would declare war on September the 10th, 1939. Hitler's primary goal was to create a Third Reich that would dominate Europe and eliminate all races and groups that he considered inferior, most notably the Jews. More than 1 million Canadians and Newfoundlanders served with distinction in World War II. 45,000 of our brave men and women gave the ultimate sacrifice, and 55,000 more were wounded. Many more lived with mental and emotional scars for the rest of their lives. Mr. Speaker, war is a dreadful and evil thing, but I would submit that the Second World War was a necessary evil. The fate of the free world was at stake, and standing on the sidelines was not an option. We must remember the sacrifice of so many who gave us the freedom we enjoy. We dare not erase the military history of our great country. We must be faithfully taught to our children so they too will never forget. Two closing statements, Mr. Speaker. We will remember them and never again.
Question period. I recognize the opposition, the deputy opposition leader. Sorry.
Mr. Speaker, yesterday the Leader of the Opposition introduced a bill to make it harder for fringe supporters of this government to force a referendum on leaving Canada. This bill sends a clear signal that even the talk of separatism will kill jobs, kill investment, and spur instability in our economy. It's the last thing we need. This all plays right into the hands of Donald Trump. With all of this in mind, will the Premier state, here and now, whether he will vote for this critical legislation to keep Saskatchewan in Canada?
Hear, hear. I recognize the Premier.
Hear, hear, hear. Yesterday, but for a group of people in a party, Mr. Speaker, that don't want to talk about separation, they certainly can't stop talking about separation, Mr. Speaker.
This is true.
4 news conferences this week. Now I sent out a fundraising email asking Saskatchewan residents saying that we don't want this debate to end, but they do, and you should chip in a little money for that debate to end, Mr. Chair. And I'm a little bit tempted, to be honest with you, so that this debate can end, because we have been, Mr. Speaker, very clear. on this side of the House. There is legislation that is in place, Mr. Speaker. What the opposition bill would do would essentially silence Saskatchewan residents, Mr. Speaker. We don't think that is correct. In fact, the elections officer doesn't think that's correct either, Mr. Speaker, as he released a report a number of years ago, Mr. Speaker, that spoke specifically to the 15%, or maybe roughly 122,000 votes that would be needed to petition a referendum in this province, Mr. Speaker, is being highly unlikely that that would ever happen. With respect to the 50% requirement on participation, he had said that that's unrealistic. And to the 60% support for that referendum to be binding, he had said that's inappropriately defined, Mr. Speaker. So I don't know that, and it's obvious that the members opposite didn't take the recommendations of the elections officer's report in making it harder for Saskatchewan residents to have their voice heard in their bill that essentially is going to silence those very residents that they vie to represent.
I recognize the Deputy Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, the Premier hasn't been clear, and that's what we're talking about here. It's sad, but it's not surprising. The Premier couldn't even tell reporters last week if he would vote for Saskatchewan to stay in Canada. Then we find out that some of his caucus members had their campaigns supported and endorsed by separatists. But the Premier did commit to allowing a free vote on our bill to keep Saskatchewan.
I'm going to remind the member that we cannot be speaking about public citizens and accusing them of things that are, again, not to be debated upon the floor of this chamber. So when you're referring to people outside of this chamber who do not have the protections that we all are afforded, we cannot be calling them things that they have not said that they were, quote from articles, talk about things that they have said or things that you've read. Please continue on.
Calling for separatism.
Mr. Speaker, these individuals have a petition calling for separatism. The Premier did commit to allowing a free vote on our bill to keep Saskatchewan in Canada. This is a pressing matter. Will the Premier commit to allowing this bill to keep Saskatchewan in Canada to go to a vote before the spring sitting is over? Yes or no?
I recognize the Premier.
First, Mr. Speaker, with respect to the Deputy Leader of the Opposition, essentially putting words in my mouth as well, I've been very clear as with respect to the founding principles of this party. I'm very clear with respect to my position as well, not only in the media but on the floor of this Assembly, that we very much do not believe in the straw man argument that the members opposite are putting forward, that it's either separation, Mr. Speaker, which they can't quit speaking about, or status quo, which they supported over the course of the last 10 years, Mr. Speaker. We believe with a new Prime Minister, that we do have an opportunity, and there is another path for Saskatchewan to take, a path where Saskatchewan is a strong, growing, contributing province within a strong, united nation of Canada. That's the path we're embarking on with the new Prime Minister, Mr. Speaker, and we'll stand here and answer this question the same all day long.
I recognize the Deputy Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, the Premier is failing to provide leadership on the threat of separatism, and he's failing to ensure people can get access to health care when and where they need it. We've received a leaked letter from healthcare workers at the intensive radiology unit at the Regina General Hospital. Some of those healthcare workers have joined us today. The letter describes in detail just how bad things are in that unit under this Sask Party government. What does the Premier have to say to these healthcare workers who are burning out on the front lines of the crisis in healthcare?
I recognize the Minister of Health.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And Mr. Speaker, our healthcare workers right across the province do a commendable job in terms of serving Saskatchewan patients and their families, Mr. Speaker, regardless of which unit and which facility they may work in, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I haven't seen the letter that the member opposite refers to, but Mr. Speaker, know that this is a government that is committed to improving access for patients, Mr. Speaker, and committed to ensuring that we can have stable services available to all residents of the province, Mr. Speaker.
I recognize the member from Regina Elphinstone Centre.
Mr. Speaker. Every day, new grim
grim details arise about how this Sask Party is breaking our healthcare system, and they cannot be entrusted to fix it. I'd like to quote directly from their letter signed by both nurses and radiology technologists. Quote, "We are reaching out to formally express our growing concerns regarding the current state of the interventional radiology department at the Regina General Hospital. As frontline healthcare workers dedicated to patient care, we are experiencing overwhelming challenges due to chronic understaffing, poor communication, and increasing operational inefficiencies. Despite raising these issues, little to no action has been taken, leaving us overworked, unheard, and deeply frustrated. Interventionist radiology, Mr. Speaker, is crucial as Regina is the trauma centre for all of southern Saskatchewan. What does the minister have to say to this letter?"
Hear, hear. I recognize the Minister of Health.
Hear, hear. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Again, Mr. Speaker, the members opposite are quoting a letter that I haven't had an opportunity to review at this point. Mr. Speaker, if I see that letter, Mr. Speaker, I'll absolutely take into consideration what's brought up in the letter, Mr. Speaker. No, Mr. Speaker, that this government is committed, again, Mr. Speaker, to stabilizing services, adding staff where necessary, Mr. Speaker. We've done that just recently, the NICU unit here at the Regina General Hospital, Mr. Speaker. This is a government, again, that has the most ambitious health human resources action plan in the country, Mr. Speaker. Since the plan came into existence in 2022, Mr. Speaker, this government has invested nearly $500 million, Mr. Speaker, into that health human resources action plan, Mr. Speaker. This is a government that will continue to do that work on behalf of the people of this province.
I recognize the member from Regina Elkins Centre.
Mr. Speaker, the only people who are calling this plan ambitious is them. The only people who are calling this plan effective is them. The Sask Party has created a crisis in the interventional radiology department at the Regina General Hospital. 6 of 10 IR technologists and 5 of 9 nursing positions are vacant due to retention issues driven by frightening working conditions and poor communication. This is depriving people of critical life-saving care. What does the Minister of Health say to these healthcare workers who are burning out because of his government's chronic short staffing?
Hear, hear. I recognize the Minister of Health.
Well, Mr. Speaker, I would say that because of our ambitious Health Human Resources Action Plan, Mr. Speaker, we've added staff in facilities right across the province. Mr. Speaker, we continue to have incentives in place to attract professionals into this province to practice in specialties far and wide and communities all over this province, Mr. Speaker. In addition to the incentives, Mr. Speaker, we have been rapidly increasing training seats, Mr. Speaker. Just in this year's budget, another 24 registered nursing seats available in this province, Mr. Speaker. Again, as we work to train more people and keep them here in this province, Mr. Speaker, that's how we're going to stabilize services and better serve the people of this province.
Hear, hear. I recognize the member from Regina Elkins.
Mr. Speaker, I'll note that the minister now has a copy of the letter. He's fully briefed on this issue. We raised the alarm on the interventionist radiology closures months ago. He's aware, Mr. Speaker.
That's right.
Great that he now has the details in the letter. It's causing tremendous waste in this department as well. Signatories say a multi-million-dollar radiology suite sits unused in the hospital, all because of short staffing. Saskatchewan people paid for that equipment, Mr. Speaker. It should be put to use providing care for Saskatchewan people. Instead, it sits idle while people wait longer for care and sometimes go without. How can the Sask Party defend this terrible waste caused by their failures?
Hear, hear. I recognize the Minister of Health.
Well, Mr. Speaker, as I said in a previous answer, I will definitely review the letter, Mr. Speaker. I just received it about 90 seconds ago, Mr. Speaker. But Mr. Speaker, we take these issues seriously, and we'll be reviewing the letter and understanding what's happening at Regina General Hospital and the interventional radiology unit, Mr. Speaker. We understand that these services are absolutely important to the people of this province, not just here in the capital city, but right across southern Saskatchewan, as people from all over the southern half of the province feed in to the city of Regina for care, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, this is a government that has a track record of improving services, Mr. Speaker, of adding staff, of training more people, and incentivizing more professionals to come work in this province, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, this is a government that will continue to do that work, Mr. Speaker. We're redoubling efforts all the time, Mr. Speaker, to improve access to health care. We're going to continue doing that work. Thank you.
I recognize the member from Regina Elkins-Bourne Centre.
Thanks, Mr. Speaker. And just to clarify, this is a letter that's been leaked to us. It was sent to government.
That's right.
So the minister can play cute about these issues, but the Premier and the Sask Party just aren't focused on the future, Mr. Speaker. They're focused on themselves. And perhaps the most disturbing aspect of this letter is that people are actually dying due to lack of care, Mr. Speaker. Patient procedures are being delayed and sometimes not happening at all because there's a shortage of doctors. This is causing preventable deaths. It's right there in the letter. Staff are burning out and even leaving our healthcare system altogether because these are terrifying and frightening working conditions. Mr. Speaker, what does the Health Minister say to the families whose loved ones have failed to receive life-saving interventions because of the mess that Sask Party has made of our healthcare system?
Hear, hear. I recognize the Minister of Health.
Hear.
Mr. Speaker, as I've stated in previous answers, Mr. Speaker, we'll take time to review the letter. This is a government that responds to challenges, Mr. Speaker, and steps up for the people of this province, Mr. Speaker. You know, Mr. Speaker, this is in contrast to the members opposite. Let's just think about what has been brought forward. And Mr. Speaker, I'm not going to impute intentions on this, Mr. Speaker, but the policies and motions that have been brought forward, Mr. Speaker, by the members opposite in this session, what would they do, Mr. Speaker?
Order, please. Members on the opposition side here, I just had said order and we're talking before I even sit down. I would ask that we have decorum in the chamber, please. Oh, my. Member from Meewasin, you're not in your seat. If he's speaking, he's not allowed to speak from anywhere except for his seat. And when I ask for decorum and we're speaking not from our seat, please, Minister of Health.
Mr. Speaker, if we just take an objective look at the policies and motions brought forward by the members opposite just in this session, Mr. Speaker, what would be the result of that? The cutting of community lab services for patients in Regina and Saskatoon. The end of virtual care in rural Saskatchewan, Mr. Speaker. Again, Mr. Speaker, for a government that's committed to improving access to health care in this province, Mr. Speaker, I'm sorry, Mr. Speaker, we are going to continue to do that work. We're going to look for all options in contrast to what the policies and motions that have been brought forward by the members opposite.
Hear, hear.
I recognize the member from Saskatoon Churchill Wildwood.
Mr. Speaker, Jeff Noctegal is in our galleries again today. He joined us in the past to advocate for his father, Helmut, who's in long-term care in Saskatchewan. When Jeff joined us last time, he expressed serious concerns about his father being chemically and physically restrained. Sadly, Mr. Speaker, Jeff's father is not the only resident experiencing this, Mr. Speaker. In fact, a troublesome chart from Helmut's former facility has come to light, showing an alarming use of chemical and physical restraints in that facility, Mr. Speaker. In one quarter, Mr. Speaker, 84.62% of residents were on antipsychotics without a diagnosis of psychosis. Does the minister think that this is acceptable?
I recognize the Minister of Mental Health and Addictions.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I do thank the member opposite for the question, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the seniors that live in our province deserve dignity as they go into healthcare facilities as they age, Mr. Speaker. I'm not aware of the numbers that the member opposite is bringing forward, Mr. Speaker, so I'm not going to speak to them specifically, but I am going to say that the care that we have in this province and the facilities that we have are regulated, Mr. Speaker, and there is a set of standards that they're expected to reach, Mr. Speaker. So if there are specific concerns, I would ask that those be brought forward. Thank you.
Here, here. I recognize the member from Saskatoon Churchill Wildwood.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. 84%. 84%. Do we think that that's dignified care? 84% of people in a facility being chemically restrained. The quarter before in this facility, Pioneer Village, was 83%. This is disturbing, and the public deserves to know. We need to know how widespread this is. I've asked numerous times, over and over again, I've asked about the use of chemical restraints, but also how the government is monitoring their use to make sure that people aren't over-medicated. and the government has not answered. People want transparency, Mr. Speaker, and I don't know what to tell them because I don't know myself. The people in Saskatchewan are afraid to age. Why won't the minister be transparent and tell this House the statistics for every single long-term care facility in this province?
I recognize the Minister of Mental Health and Addiction.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And once again, I do thank the member opposite for the question. Mr. Speaker, he brings up valid points. If there are concerns, and I have evidence-based facts based on what he's saying, Mr. Speaker, that's absolutely something that we are more than willing to look into, and we're committed to doing that, Mr. Speaker.
Hear, hear. I recognize the member from Saskatoon Churchill-Wildwood.
Mr. Speaker, I've asked questions about the use of chemical and physical restraints in estimates and also in written questions. The graph in question, which I took a picture of when I was at Pioneer Village, the government's response to me finding out about that is to ban the use of cameras by elected officials in facilities. That's their response when somebody finds something that isn't going right. Nobody's parents, grandparents, family members deserve this kind of treatment. Seniors being drugged and tied down in a seniors facility. Seniors care is in crisis in this province, and this government continues to fail seniors. Would the minister want this kind of treatment for her own family?
I recognize the Minister of Health.
Mr. Speaker, last week, the Saskatchewan Health Authority sent a memo to all 61 MLAs in this House, Mr. Speaker. There is an expectation when elected officials enter a Saskatchewan Health Authority facility, Mr. Speaker, that they do so in a way that does not interrupt patient care and in a way that is respectful of patients, Mr. Speaker. That's an expectation for members on this side of the House, and that would be an expectation for members on that side of the House as well. Thank you.
Hear, hear. I recognize the member from Saskatoon Centre.
Mr. Speaker, people in this province are dying. On Tuesday at committee, I introduced a motion calling on the government to declare the overdose crisis a public health emergency. The Sask Party immediately voted it down. Now the minister is going to say every death due to overdose is a tragedy. The people in this province and I agreed the 11 times she said it. And we have had thousands of these tragedies in this province. Enough's enough. When will the minister declare a health emergency in this province? And will she do it today?
I recognize the Minister of Remote Rural Health.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, a couple of nights ago we were in committee, and that committee was there to consider the Regulated Health Professionals Act. So the member opposite, without any notice, brought this surprise motion forward, Mr. Speaker. So our members voted to consider the business that was at hand that day, Mr. Speaker. And she stands in the House, and I feel mocked by her when she downgrades the fact that I do care about what is happening in this province, Mr. Speaker, and that is truly how I feel. We are trying to put supports and services in place to take care of the individuals in this province, and I truly mean that, and we will continue to work in that direction, Mr. Speaker.
I recognize the member from Saskatoon Centre.
Mr. Speaker, the minister knows that she can declare a public health emergency.
Anytime.
Anytime. Whether it's before a committee, in this House, anytime while we're in session. Mr. Speaker, I just don't understand how the minister doesn't consider this an emergency. 2,000 deaths in 5 years. That is 1/5 of the population of Estevan. Gone. Every last one of those deaths was preventable. How many more thousands have to die before the minister acknowledges these are not just tragedies? This is not just a crisis. This is an emergency.
I recognize the Minister of Remote Rural Health.
Speaker, declaring an emergency doesn't save lives. Treatment saves lives, Mr. Speaker. And that is exactly what this government is doing. And I'm glad she brought up my home community of Estevan. I think I've talked about it in this House before, previous to us having the opportunity to serve they closed beds in the community of Estevan for treatment centres, Mr. Speaker. So not only, since we've had the opportunity to serve, we've rebuilt those beds, but right now we have a commitment to actually do an additional 500 beds, Mr. Speaker. And these beds are specialized, Mr. Speaker. The drugs that are out on the street are illicit and they are dangerous. We do not know what is in them. The addiction that it is causing for our individuals is far worse than we've ever seen in the past, Mr. Speaker, but we're committed to opening those beds and helping individuals.
Hear, hear. I recognize the member from Regina Northeast.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. That definitely sounds like an emergency and a crisis to me, and I would call one. Now, I remember, Mr. Speaker, the separatist movement that eventually led to a referendum in Quebec in the late 90s. It was a devastating time for the Quebec economy in the 90s. Billions of investment dollars were pulled, the dollar dropped completely, pensions suffered immensely, and head offices moved out of Quebec. So my question is simple. Which head office here in Saskatchewan is the Premier prepared to lose?
I recognize the Minister of Finance.
Mr. Speaker, to that question, this Premier and this government has worked very hard to attract business to Saskatchewan and has been very successful at that, Mr. Speaker. That's one of the many reasons that you see the population recently went to 1.25 million people, Mr. Speaker, which when the members opposite were in government said was not possible. Mr. Speaker, this economy is going to continue to grow. We're going to continue to attract businesses here. On the issue of separatism, Mr. Speaker, I don't know how much more we can say, Mr. Speaker. For the last 2 weeks, ever since the federal election, the Premier's made it abundantly clear. We're not interested in separation. We're not interested in status quo. We're looking at a better relationship with the federal government, Mr. Speaker. Premier said it in the House. He said it publicly. I've said it, Mr. Speaker. This really is Throwback Thursday, Mr. Speaker. or better, maybe Groundhog Day, because we just keep going through the same thing over and over, Mr. Speaker.
Hear, hear. I recognize the member from Saskatoon, Lieutenant.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The South Saskatchewan River is the heart of Saskatoon, and the Prairie Lily, our iconic riverboat, has long been a symbol of pride. Now it's shutting down and laying off staff because of dangerously low water levels. The Prairie Lily is an icon of summer in Saskatoon. It's a major attraction for locals and tourists alike. What is the minister responsible for the Water Security Agency doing to protect these good local jobs?
Hear, hear. Recognize the Minister of Agriculture.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Water Security Agency manages Lake Diefenbaker's water supply on the South Saskatchewan River for all users on the system. As Saskatchewan has experienced droughts and prolonged dry conditions over the last few years, WSA is taking a conservative approach in managing water. Also, with low mountain runoff this year, careful reservoir management is essential to support ongoing demands. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Hear, hear. Ministerial statements. Introduction of bills. Presenting reports by standing and special committees. Orders of the day.
Written questions. Question number 5, asked by MLA Love.
I recognize the government whip.
I wish to order question number 5.
Question number 5 is ordered.
75-minute debate. MLA Wilson to move.
I recognize the government whip.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, economic resilience and diversity have always been a part of the Saskatchewan advantage. Back in the 1940s, my grandfather was a mink rancher out in the Insinger Golden Vale area, about a half an hour west of Yorkton. He did well raising and selling mink and saved up enough hides to buy his first gravel truck. He and my grandmother tried Alberta for a bit. They moved to Lloydminster, but he was a rarity. He didn't like it there. A friend from Tiny sent him a letter saying there was a quarter section for sale back home. So he packed up his truck and he moved back to Saskatchewan. He was probably the first person in our province's history to move back from Alberta. He started farming, but he had something to prove still in road construction. He was one of the many tag-axle dump truck drivers hauling on the brand new Highway 1 road construction job. He had told my grandma that he drove truck day and night and never took his work boots off. I can still hear her saying, yeah, George, you never took your work boots off. He had told me that when he rolled down to the Whitewood Grenfell area, that he was down there with a bunch of little gravel trucks, and they were in the pit like ants. There were so many of them back in the day because they could haul so little. A single-axle dump truck is a far cry from the triple units we have now. Apparently, when all the little tag-axle trucks went through the scale, the operator expected a day driver and a night driver. Grandpa didn't have a second driver, so he just made a name up, used his name too, and hauled 24 hours a day. It's a little like Kramer in that Seinfeld episode, sleeping 15 minutes every 4 hours. Following the build of Highway 1, he was fortunate to pick up a screener. He had said that when he rolled into his yard with it, the other farmers in the area, particularly one non-George Wilson fan, was heard to say that George lost his mind getting into gravel. He had his first screening job up at the RM of Porcupine Plain, not too far outside of town. He told me that when he set up the screener and started to screen gravel for farmers and for their yards, he said the gravel was coming off the belt thick like flour. He said farmers were lined up for gravel, cash in hand. In just that short story, we've got someone who diversified from mink rancher to farmer to road contractor. He never did quit any of those either. He built highway his whole life, overfilled a few grain bins for my dad when he got a little older, and never forgot how to skin an animal. If Doug McDermott from the top of the hill just outside of Nipawin was still around, he would tell you that him and George skinned a lot of coyotes when they built the new Highway 55 from Nipawin to White Fox. That is the Saskatchewan advantage, long before we ever coined that phrase. Mr. Speaker, I stand here not just as an MLA, but a proud son of Buchanan, where you learn fast that if you want something built, you roll up your sleeves and you get to work. And that's exactly what we've done in this province. We've taken grit, hard work, and vision, and we've turned it into the Saskatchewan advantage. When I think about diversity at a local level, I actually think of the South Saskatchewan Ready Partnership. RMs like Poplar Valley, Hart Butte, Willow Bunch, and towns like Rockglen and Coronach. They banded together to find ways to diversify the local economy as we transitioned away from coal-fired power. That's real leadership. That's why they were recognized at both SARM and the SUMA conventions for their project. But here's the twist. Our government is committed to continuing with coal, not just because it's stable, but because it's a bridge to nuclear technology. In Saskatchewan, old is new, and with our all-of-the-above approach, these local economies will stay powered up for decades to come. Diversification isn't a buzzword, it's a lived reality. Just look at Yorkton. The world's largest canola crushing plant is right there. I repeat, the world's largest canola crushing plant. Richardson International has more than doubled the capacity of their Yorkton crush facility. It can now handle 2.5 million tons annually. This plant unloads 250 Super B trucks a day through 3 high-speed lanes. And a lot of that canola, it's coming from Kenora Pelly, Melville Saltcoats, Last Mountain Touchwood. Even Western Manitoba sends their grain there. I didn't spend any time finding out the names of any of their constituencies, but I do know one is called Swan River. That's diversification. That's interprovincial trade. And that's good for our people, our jobs, and our future. But before any of that, before any surpluses and expansions, there was Rod Gantifor. Rod was our party's first finance minister, stepping into the role as the global economy was slowing down. Commodity prices were struggling. But Rod, steady as can be, delivered a budget that laid the groundwork for what would become the Saskatchewan Advantage. He championed fiscal restraint, disciplined spending, and a simple message: grow the economy so we can grow opportunity. That message was the seed of the growth plan we see bearing fruit today. Fast forward to now, what do we see? More than 1.23 million people living and working here. Since 2007, Saskatchewan's population has grown by over 233,000, which is a 23% increase. Rod thought long-term when it would have been easy to think small. We owe him. Ken Kravetz built on that vision with rock-solid discipline. He said it best: balanced budgets, debt reduction, and sound fiscal management. That's the Saskatchewan Advantage. And Ken didn't just say it, he delivered it. He made sure families felt it in their taxes, their schools, and their confidence. Private capital investment and export growth are key drivers of Saskatchewan's success. Our capital investment in 2024 is estimated to be $14.2 billion, an increase of 14.4% compared to 2023, with over $49 billion in exports. In 2023, the value of Saskatchewan's exports reached $49.3 billion, surpassing our 2030 target. That's nothing short of amazing. After Kravetz came Doherty, one of the toughest portfolios in our province's history. In 16-17, we faced a $1.22 billion deficit. Resource revenues dropped, and it would have been like opening a university for 25,000 people, with magically 8,000 of them not showing up on enrollment day. Doherty's meeting the challenge, now. Stakeholders and investors see predictability. This reputation for long-term financial prudence makes Saskatchewan attractive for infrastructure, utilities, and innovation. This gave Donna Hartpower room to continue the transition towards non-resource revenue streams, as seen in the diversification of exports, agri-food processing, and manufacturing. For municipalities, Indigenous communities, and industry stakeholders, this shift provides funding stability and signals that the province isn't held hostage to the boom-bust cycles. And then there's Donna Hartpower. When she became finance minister in 2018, she did something very bold. She weaned our province off of volatile resource revenue. She cut it from 32% of our revenue down to 10%. That's vision. As a municipal councillor, I remember lots of debate around revenue sharing. Donna's stance made us think harder. We started saving some of that money for capital, just in case, because we understood sustainable funding means stability for services. Donna did more than balance a budget. She gave us the tools to plan. The strength of Saskatchewan's financial position and plan going forward is confirmed by Saskatchewan's strong credit rating. In June of 2024, S&P Global Savings gave Saskatchewan the highest credit rating among Canadian provinces. Mr. Speaker, our population is growing, and growing more rapidly than it did during the previous years under the New Democratic Party. I won't apologize for an increasing population growth in the province. No matter how you slice it, we have had one of the best employment rates in the nation in the last number of years. The employment growth is one of the fastest in the country. And you try and take your message of doom and gloom into the city of Saskatoon, and I'll tell you what they'll do. They'll run you out of town because they don't believe it. A matter of fact, in Saskatoon, I'd say if the New Democratic Party tried to take its message of doom and gloom, the whole party would be run out of town because the people of Saskatchewan do not want to hear it. And if you want to take that message of doom and gloom and depression to Estevan, I suggest that the people of Estevan will deal with the New Democratic Party, and they will do it in a rather quick manner. And they will. You go into Weyburn and you take your message of doom and gloom and depression, and they'll run you out of town. Sit down, and they'll do the same.
I've asked for order in the House, and we will have order in this House. Thank you.
And they'll run you out of town. They'll do the same thing. Or Yorkton, or Kenora. So I would say to the New Democratic Party that it's their attitude and their party's attitude which may tend to create a climate of doom and gloom and depression. But that's not what the public of Saskatchewan want to hear. The public of Saskatchewan know the facts. They know there are far more people working today under a Saskatchewan Party government than at any time in the province's history. That there are far more people working today in Saskatchewan, and that Saskatchewan has had one of the lowest unemployment rates in the country. And you can't take those facts away from the people of Saskatchewan. In Kenora-Pelly, we don't theorize about diversification, we live it. People like Mr. Sperling, a farmer and phenomenal fabricator. The kind of guy whose ag equipment looks like it came from the Melfort-St. Brew Iron Triangle. And he's right here in rural Saskatchewan. Or the nurse in Yorkton or the skidder operator in Priestville. There's jobs that didn't exist 10 years ago, and now they're raising families. They're not asking for handouts. They're asking to be seen, supported, and trusted to build our future. So yes, we honor leaders like Ganafor, Cravets, Doherty, and Harpower, giants in our party, stewards of the Saskatchewan advantage. But we don't stop going there. We don't stop there, we keep going. Diversification is not about abandoning our roots, it's about expanding our branches. And now, under our current finance minister, that steady hand continues. Our current minister stepped into the role during the time of global volatility, trade tensions with the U.S., tariff threats, and economic headwinds from abroad. But thanks to the foundation built by those before him and the elder minister's own pragmatic leadership, Saskatchewan's economy stayed on track. Today, we're still growing, still attracting investment, and still delivering affordability measures that keep life manageable for working families. We've just announced the MLTC renewable project. We have the coal, the know-how, and the nuclear potential. Why buy power from Manitoba or North Dakota when we can build it here with our people, our jobs, and our vision? Saskatchewan's Crown Utilities will invest $2.6 billion this year, the largest Crown Corporation capital investment in Saskatchewan's history, including this year investments in utility infrastructure over the next 4 years that will total almost $9.5 billion. Infrastructure investments in this year include $1.6 billion through SaskPower to improve reliability, replace aging infrastructure to meet customer demand. This includes a construction of a 370 megawatt natural gas-fired electrical plant in south central Saskatchewan. SaskTel will invest almost $440 million to deploy fiber to the people in rural Saskatchewan and expand SaskTel's 5G wireless network. Once these investments are complete, SaskTel will have invested more than $1 billion to bring its broadband network to 225 communities and nearly 85% of all homes and businesses across Saskatchewan. Mr. Speaker, if we can keep investing in our future, our communities, if we keep investing in our people, our future, communities, and there will be no telling how far Saskatchewan will go. So with that, I move that this Assembly supports the government's work in diversifying the economy, which has led to the second highest rate of job growth, lowest unemployment rate, the second highest GDP growth, and the highest rate of private capital investment in Canada. Thank you. Here he is.
It has been moved by the member from Kenora-Pelly that this Assembly supports the government's work in diversifying the economy, which has led to the second highest rate of job growth, the lowest unemployment rate, the second highest GDP growth, and the highest rate of private capital investments in Canada. Is the Assembly ready for the question? I recognize the member from Saskatoon-Meewasin.
Mr. Speaker, the Assembly is sure ready for this question. Mr. Speaker, I just have to start off the top that some of these debate talking points that they're handing out are really falling flat. I'd like to remind the Saskatchewan Party government that we ran you out of Saskatoon and Regina in the last provincial election. Saskatchewan people were telling me on the doorsteps every single day how they were tired of this Saskatchewan Party government failing to build better jobs in the province, failing to uphold our healthcare system, and failing to fund our education system in our province, Mr. Speaker. And it is so telling that this Saskatchewan Party government thinks that after seeing such a wallop in their two major cities that they could show up on this floor of this Assembly and tell us that we are bringing doom and gloom to the cities of Saskatoon and Regina. We certainly did not hear that, Mr. Speaker. But I will digress because I love debating the economy in Saskatchewan. I'm going to also quickly make a note because we had some really interesting questions in question period today about head office jobs lost during the Quebec separatist referendum. Under the Saskatchewan Party government, under the Moe years, we have lost 17% of head office jobs. We have lost head office jobs have lost 17%. We've lost 7% of our head offices in Saskatchewan. And from 2018 to 2022, we lost 76.28 overall corporate management jobs in the province. In fact, we also see at Nutrien a majority of their senior management staff moved out of Saskatchewan, Mr. Speaker. That is the record of this Sask Party government. That's the record of this Premier. But I'm going to come back here because I had wanted to preface my remarks here with a little bit of history for the Chamber, just so we don't forget. You know, we're always hearing about the years of the NDP, and I went into the dates there. You know, I was born in 1989 when just before Premier Devine was unceremoniously thrown out of this chamber and the Saskatchewan NDP took power. Now again, let's fast forward to 2007. I was graduating high school when the Premier Wall took over the province, and so my entire adult life has been spent under a Sask Party regime. But we always want to talk about the past, so you know what, let's talk about the past for a quick second. The Sask Party government that we see sitting here wasn't always the Sask Party. As I mentioned, they were once called the Progressive Conservative Party. You know, they love to go back in time. You know, and as I mentioned, we had Premier Devine and his Progressive Conservative government was thrown out of office in 1991 and will go down in history for being one of the most notorious governments in Canada, Mr. Speaker. After an RCMP investigation concluded in 1995, it was revealed that that previous PC government was responsible for a major expense fraud scheme that unfolded during the party's second term in office between 1987 and 1991. In that scheme, numerous cabinet ministers would go to jail, a cabinet minister would murder his wife, and they added the second most debt to this province that this province has, the second most debt to the province's books. Don't worry, Mr. Speaker, the current Premier and the current Wall government have added more. So they are technically in first place for debt on the books. Now, to layer on top of the debt, the fraud, the scandal, the murder, they were such poor managers of the economy and the fiscal purse that we were nearly bankrupted when they left office. We nearly had to hand the keys back to Ottawa and become a territory. This is the Coles notes, as there are actually whole books written on this time period, you know, following that disastrous term. The Progressive Conservative brand was so battered, Mr. Speaker, and destroyed that they had to change their name. Honestly, you don't get to see drama like that. You know, I feel like Netflix could come and do a Grant Devine biopic, and in my head, that biopic would start, you know, first throne speech of 2022, and the notorious Colin Thatcher is sitting in the audience, and they see that he's been invited, and then oh, boom, we flash back to look into the days of the Grant Devine government. I think Netflix should come film it right on our soundstage. No, Mr. Speaker, I digress. We're here to debate the economy because the economy is so important. We're here to debate this economy, and I want to say that, you know what? All those folks that were working as staffers in that progressive conservative government went on to then form this Saskatchewan Party government. So we had 4 disgruntled progressive conservative members, and then 4 Liberals built the founding principles of the Saskatchewan Party. A Liberal coalition, Mr. Speaker. Now we hear so much about the Liberals from this Premier and this government, Mr. Speaker. It's so surprising that when they read their founding principles, they so forget about those 4 Liberal members that they coalitioned with to form this current party. Again, we have a second iteration of that. The long and gone progressive conservative party has come back with a new name. Mr. Speaker, that brings us back to today. The Sask Party government is just the same old PC government of yore, coming to take a second swipe at the public finances, a second kick at the can of throwing our economy in shambles and tripling the debt for future generations down the road. Now, I would be remiss to say that it has been a pretty good 17 years for their donors and insider friends. You know, we've seen hotel deals, private surgery deals. Mr. Speaker, it seems that if you donate to this Saskatchewan Party government, you get a great lucrative contract down the road. So we know that their friends are doing well, but the economy in Saskatchewan isn't doing so well. So I'm going to talk a little about that with my 4 minutes left, Mr. Speaker. We've heard a lot about job growth from this government. You know, the statement from them is, under the Saskatchewan Party government, a new job is created every 30 minutes for a person in Saskatchewan. The truth of that matter is, in the last 7 years, the Sask Party has created 43,900 jobs, or roughly 1 for every 80 minutes. The second worst job creation of the Canadian provinces, Mr. Speaker. Statement, this is from another statement from the Sask Party. The Saskatchewan's strong economy is creating thousands of jobs. In truth, Saskatchewan has the second worst job creation record among the provinces. They say, our economy is strong, vibrant, and growing. Mr. Speaker, Saskatchewan has the second lowest economic growth rate, just over 1% per year, Mr. Speaker. Over the past, 8 years that we have seen this Premier in office, we've also seen our standard of living decline. Mr. Speaker, under Devine, the standard of living was ranked at $7,222. We then saw under Romano, $9,877. Calvert, $7,494. Under Wall, we saw a standard of living at $4,579, and under this Premier, it has fallen by over $1,600. It is at literally minus $1,614. That is the standard of living metric that we're seeing. And again, we have the second worst economic growth in Canada. We've seen less than 1% under the years that this Premier has been in office. Mr. Speaker, I could continue to go on here. We are not seeing growth alongside the rest of the country. Now we're hearing about investments, but in all actuality, the real capital investment in Saskatchewan is lower today than it was in 2014. Adjusting for population growth, real capital investment today is about the same per person as it was in 2007. I've got a couple, I wish I had a little slide machine here, Mr. Speaker, because I've got some really great slides here that I wish I could share with everybody. But, and then we're going to go on to, debt increasing, Mr. Speaker. The two governments that have increased the debt most in the province's history have been the Devine government from 1982 to 1991. They increased the debt by over $15 million. Now, under the Wall-Mo years in 2015-2023, they increased the debt by over $17 million. They've tripled the debt coming into office after the Saskatchewan Democratic Party left our government finances in such good shape, Mr. Speaker. We had a savings account, Mr. Speaker. When we left office, the economy was booming, Mr. Speaker. And under the 17 years that this Sask Party government has been in power, we've seen that savings account completely depleted, Mr. Speaker. The economy that was booming is left in shambles.
They've tripled the debt since they came into power, and now by 2029 it'll be quadrupled, Mr. Speaker. You know, I wish I had more time here on the clock, but I think I've made my point clear. We clearly have progressive, conservative, Grant-Devine government 2.0 sitting over here, ready to throw our public finances into chaos, ready to grift with their best friends, and we, the Saskatchewan Democratic Party, are going to have to come in again and fix up what they've left behind. Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker.
I recognize the member from Moose Jaw Waccamaw.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I, as a self-proclaimed fiscal conservative and business instructor, am proud to support this motion. Let's break down the motion a little bit and talk about how these strong economic indicators are related to each other.
Right.
So, let's start with capital investment. We have attracted the highest level of private capital investment in this nation. Private capital investment drives GDP growth. We have the second highest GDP growth in this country. GDP growth and capital investment drive job creation. We have the second highest job creation in this province. Job creation obviously is going to lower unemployment rate. We have the lowest unemployment rate in this country.
Hear, hear.
So I am actually proud to sit on this side of the House and represent a government who is literally giving a case study on growing an economy.
Hear, hear.
Now, this didn't just happen by accident. It didn't just happen because we changed our mind one day that, we were going to instead value something different. It's because of thoughtful policy decisions that have been made over many years. And these decisions are based on the guiding principles of this party. The principles that this party was founded on. Principles that include the private sector is the engine of job creation and our economy. And this is important because without a strong economy, we can't do the important things. We can't offer the people of this province the services that they need and deserve.
Hear, hear.
And at the same time, in this last budget, we were able to offer affordability measures for families. So building and continuing to grow our economy is through diversification strategies in our export markets, through incentives that encourage and stimulate investment in our economy, and policies that support the private sector are what we will continue to do. In the last 17 years, this driving principle, this founding principle, that growth in the private sector is literally the foundation of our strength, is not only a founding principle, but it's a North Star.
Hear, hear.
The Saskatchewan Growth Plan has been our roadmap to strengthening this economy. It is a plan to diversify and expand our province's resource base. Our growth plan emphasizes diversifying our export market, attracting investment, and fostering innovation to build a robust and diversified economy. The government has lowered and kept the business tax rate at 1%. We have a stable regulatory environment that businesses can rely on. We have red tape reduction committee that has actually saved businesses over $600 million since 2015. This government has removed the carbon tax for businesses. These are all policy decisions that were thoughtfully made by this government that support the success of the private sector. In 2024, total private capital investment was $19.9 billion, up 16.9% from 2022. And it's expected to increase another 10.8% in 2025 to $22 billion. So these policies that support the private sector are clearly working. Mr. Speaker, the Fraser Institute put out a survey to mining companies in 2023, and the results came back that this province was seen to be the best jurisdiction in Canada to invest in for mining companies, and the third best jurisdiction in all of the world to invest in for mining companies. So that explains why BHP is investing in Saskatchewan. The world's largest potash mine will be right here in Saskatchewan. This represents the most significant capital investment in this province's history. Right. $14 billion. This, again, will be one of the largest potash mines in the world, and it will help to feed the growing population in the world. Once wrapped up, it's expected to generate approximately 8.5 million tons every year, with plans for growth in the longer term. The mine development will offer up to $1 billion in contract opportunities for Indigenous populations. The expansion will create thousands of jobs during the construction phase and will result in hundreds of permanent full-time positions once it's up and running. This government continues to offer targeted incentives to stimulate investment in our economy. And this is thoughtful, strategic decision-making. The manufacturing and processing profits tax reduction, for example, the manufacturing and processing investment tax credit, the Saskatchewan value-added agricultural incentive are a few examples. These incentives are working. They're working to stimulate investment in our country, in our province, and even in the city of Moose Jaw. One example is Donald's Fine Foods, who made a multi-million-dollar investment to open a new sow harvest and processing facility in our community. The first new pork processing facility in Canada in nearly a decade. Once fully operational, they expect to employ nearly 500 people in Moose Jaw. Another example in our flourishing city of Moose Jaw is Simpson Seeds. Simpson Seeds is a family-owned agricultural company. They are currently in the process of creating a new flour mill that will produce lentil flour. Wow. This investment will enhance value-added processing within the province, reducing reliance on overseas facilities, supporting local farmers, and again, providing more plant protein to feed our growing population across the globe. These significant investments in value-added agriculture, processing, and mining are examples of private capital investment that will continue to drive our GDP, create more jobs, and reduce our unemployment rate. So, Mr. Speaker, we know that Saskatchewan has the food, fuel, and fertilizer that the rest of the world needs. So we've diversified our export markets to reduce reliance on one country, especially important in today's tariff-fueled environment. People and our jobs are growing. Construction is driving most of the job growth in the province.
Hear, hear.
Construction jobs are up 25%. And why are they up? Because private capital investment is driving construction in this province, as well as our growing population. With 1.25 million people in this province, we need schools, hospitals, and houses. So it's through these measures that we'll continue to see growth in our economy, not just for the sake of growth, but so that we can provide a better quality of life for people in the province.
Hear, hear.
I recognize the member from Regina University.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm delighted to rise today to talk on this motion. Mr. Speaker, I think the crux of what we're discussing here today is how the members opposite view the economy. And you know, I get it. You cherry pick a snapshot in time and you make the numbers look as best as you possibly can so you can stand around and pat yourself on the back about what a fantastic job you're doing. I get it. That is what tired and out of ideas governments tend to do when they're at this point in their... But what does the economy mean to this government? What does it mean? Are they thinking about the CEO boardrooms? We tend to think about the kitchen table over here when we think about the economy,
Hear, hear.
Mr. Speaker. And I tell you what, a province that has the highest rates of mortgage arrears in the country is not a province that is doing real well. We have the highest rate of economic anxiety in the country. That's not a province that should be patting itself on the back. The Child Advocate has warned that parents are worried that they can't feed their families, that number has tripled. Mr. Speaker, that doesn't say that we're doing the best in the country. And Mr. Speaker, in the fall, we talked about it and the problem is still not solved. Scurvy has been reintroduced in our north, Mr. Speaker, an affliction that hasn't really been seen since the 18th century naval expeditions. That is not a province that is succeeding. We also have some of the highest rates of crime in the country, Mr. Speaker. We have the highest rates of suicide, very unfortunately. And we have skyrocketing rates of homelessness, Mr. Speaker. And the member who spoke previously mentioned policy choices. Mr. Speaker, the disastrous policy choice to change how SIS is delivered has directly affected the rates of homelessness. Do you know how wrong you have to be about a policy to have both landlords and housing advocates tell you that it is a bad idea to do this? But Mr. Speaker, even when we look at those cherry-picked numbers, Canada actually has, Saskatchewan actually has the second lowest GDP growth among the provinces since this Premier took the position. Again, we've seen a standard of living that's actually dropped, a feat that we haven't seen in Saskatchewan since the Great Depression. Not even Grant Devine managed that level of drop, Mr. Speaker. You know, the NDP here, we've got a plan to tariff-proof our economy, and I just spent a wonderful 2 days in Calgary meeting with some of our country's best and brightest energy leaders. And they know, like everybody knows, that we have to get building in this province. The time for talk is over, and I know the Sask Party has a disastrous record of actually getting a pipeline built. They haven't managed to get that done. Obviously, that's something we want to see. We know that it doesn't get done by saber-rattling and chest-pounding, but actually talking to the people in provinces on either side, working across provincial and party lines, and even though they hate to do it, working with the federal government to actually accomplish something for the people of Saskatchewan and for the people of Canada. We need to be able to move our product east, west. We need to diversify our markets, Mr. Speaker.
Hear, hear.
You know, and I want to just take a step back to the budget. I know we're coming to the end of session now, and the introduction of that budget seems
so very long ago. And maybe that's because the predictions have already changed so much, even though it was only a few short weeks since the claims of a balanced budget, which I know they're finding increasingly hard to choke out that line on the floor of this chamber, Mr. Speaker. But even, I don't know, it's got to be some kind of, and perhaps one of my friends on this side who are more interested in data and that kind of stuff, I mean, it's got to be a record that within 7 days, not even a week, the ink barely dry, that $500 million was blown in it immediately, and that somehow the claim that this is a balanced budget is still making its way into the talking points. And you know, I'm happy if the members opposite aren't able to adjust their speaking notes and their messaging, because we saw obviously the federal party's results of not being able to adapt their messaging and how that resulted at the federal level, Mr. Speaker. You know, the main thing for a good economy is stability and predictability. That goes for small businesses, that goes for the largest corporations, that goes for managing the family budget, Mr. Speaker. And just going back, I always feel like I have to get in a plug or a mention of Newfoundland when I'm on my feet in this chamber, Mr. Speaker. And I'm from Newfoundland, that joined Canada in 1949. And this, you know, I promise that this actually ties back to what we're talking about, of what type of economy we want to see. The economy is so that we can support the people of our province with the highest quality of life, with joy, and with opportunity for the future for their kids, to provide the services that they need. And again, you know, is our economy doing great when we've got the lowest per student funding in our education system in the country? No. Some of the worst healthcare outcomes and also wait times in the country? Again, not doing very well. But Newfoundland joined Canada specifically to become part of that economic prosperity that they saw within Canada. They wanted to be part of that larger entity that could provide them predictability and stability. And Mr. Speaker, this talk of separatism, and I know the Premier and members opposite have said that we're the only ones who want to talk about it, but he should probably pick up the phone and talk to his friend Danielle Smith, who's just committed to touring this idea for a whole year. So whether they like it or not, this argument is not going away unless some leadership is shown, and the Premier has said that leadership is not about telling people what to do or what to think and listening. And to a certain extent, I agree, Mr. Speaker. But if you cannot stand up as the Premier of the province and say to your population clearly, this is a bad idea, this is bad for us as a province, this is bad for industry, I don't know what the job is. Again, Mr. Speaker, that predictability and stability, people said it loud and clear, this is not just rhetoric from us on this side of the House, Mr. Speaker. Every single member of an energy producers association or individual energy producing company that we spoke to said that this talk from Danielle Smith and the soft on separatism attitude that they're seeing in Saskatchewan is bad for business. It makes it harder to talk to and do business with a new federal government who they are saying, listen, we need a reset. We've been burned in the past, but in good faith, we want to do the work. And it's making harder to attract investment. I know the Premier was at the London Stock Exchange not too long ago, Mr. Speaker, and I can't imagine trying to present Saskatchewan as a safe investment and somewhere where you want to do business, where you're going, I don't know, we're going to let the people have their say and maybe we'll be part of Canada, maybe we won't. If I was an investor, Mr. Speaker, that certainly would not be what was driving my desire to put money into Saskatchewan, Mr. Speaker. That would not be it. You know, and the members opposite can chirp, but I think that they're probably hearing the same message from industry that they're talking to, and it's up to them whether they listen to that industry or listen to a fringe element of their membership. That's their choice, Mr. Speaker. But going back to that, what type of economy do we want to see here in Saskatchewan? What is attracting this investment for? What is building Canada for? What is creating more rail, more pipe, having an energy corridor across the country, seeing more investment and diversifying our economy. What is all of that for? That is for the people at the kitchen table. That is for their kids to get a good education. That is so that they can focus on the future and not have to worry about their parents languishing in long-term care, Mr. Speaker. That is not having to worry about feeding their kids. That is not having to worry about making a choice between food and medicine, Mr. Speaker, or about how they're going to send their kids to university while they're also caring for aging parents, Mr. Speaker. On this side of the House, when we think about the economy, we think about the kitchen table, Mr. Speaker. That's something that we all have to consider. It is not some amorphous concept. This is real people, real lives who are hurting, and regardless of what that government says, you can tell them that we're doing the best, all you want, but if people don't feel that at their kitchen table and in their wallet, it simply isn't true. And with that, Mr. Speaker, I would like to vote against your proposal. I will not be supporting the motion, Mr. Speaker.
I recognize the member from Prince Albert Carleton.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. What a privilege to speak to this motion in our economy, and I truly hope a more positive message than one we're getting from the other side. A motion that gives the time to speak on what a diversified economy does to our great province of Saskatchewan, to speak to the importance of having a diversified economy, an economy that has led this province to the second highest job growth rate in our great country, an economy that has led this province to one of the lowest unemployment rates in our country, an economy that has led this province to the second highest GDP growth and highest rate of capital investment in Canada. This cannot be done without a diversified economy. When you have a diversified economy, Saskatchewan can keep its competitiveness. How does that happen, Mr. Speaker? If you concentrate on only having one or two methods of driving an economy, you're very subject to world fluctuations, very subject to one or two industries controlling the prosperity of our whole provincial economy, and that's not good for anyone. So how do you promote and keep a diversified economy? You do it by creating an environment of growth. You do it by creating an environment that encourages private investment. You do it by removing barriers to economic growth. You do it by promoting this province is open to investment, a province that allows competition. And of course, it doesn't hurt that we have the world's best resources, including agriculture, oil and gas, potash, uranium, and our forestry products. So what are we doing to diversify? How do we get our agriculture, oil and gas, potash, uranium, forest products to market? We have to promote ourselves to the world. We promote Saskatchewan. One example is to extend international markets for Saskatchewan products. Our government has released the next decade of growth, Saskatchewan's investment attraction strategy. This plan focuses on three core pillars to enhance Saskatchewan's dynamic business environment. First of all, to build, to develop and enhance critical infrastructure to support key industries and attract large-scale investments. Second, to grow, to expand Saskatchewan's global footprint by promoting our resources and sectors. Third, to connect, to strengthen our partnerships with global investors and industry leaders to drive innovation and create new economic opportunities in this province. Our government will continue to expand markets for Saskatchewan products and open doors for businesses in the province through Saskatchewan's international offices. With our trade missions and agreements with trading partners, we are creating strong government-to-government relations around the world. We need these government relations around the world to help address market challenges such as trade barriers, yet still increasing market access to these countries where their government is more involved in the business. Saskatchewan has a network of international trade offices around the world. These offices help to strengthen relationships with Saskatchewan's trading partners. Having these offices brings dedicated services to assist with Saskatchewan exporters bringing their products to the world, brings new investment into this province, helps academia, research, and industry partnerships, and of course, helps us recruit us to have recruitment missions in sectors where Saskatchewan is experiencing labor shortages. But not only do we have to work internationally, we have to work nationally as well, positively affecting our province by reducing inter-provincial trade barriers. For example, in Saskatchewan, interprovincial exports of goods and services represent more than 22% of Saskatchewan's GDP. Exports to other provinces increased 33.5% from $19 billion in 2018 to $25 billion in 2022. Through the Canada Free Trade Agreement and active participation in regulatory reconciliation and cooperation table, Saskatchewan continues to work with federal, provincial, and territorial counterparts to enable companies to conduct businesses across provincial and territorial borders. Mr. Speaker, before I can talk further about that, we have to mention how our province helps keep a competitive advantage over other jurisdictions. Because if we aren't competitive with others, there's no reason for business to want and to do business in Saskatchewan. I'm a numbers guy, so some numbers first. Total capital investment in Saskatchewan reached $19 billion in 2024, a 16.9% increase from 2023, which was the second highest increase amongst the provinces. Private capital investment accounts for the majority of the total capital investment at 74% of $14.7 billion was from private investment. How do we attract more business to stay competitive? Here are a couple ways. Business taxes. Saskatchewan has some of the lowest statutory corporate tax rate amongst the provinces. Saskatchewan is tied with Prince Edward Island for the second lowest provincial small business tax rate, which is at 1%. Tied with Ontario for the second lowest provincial manufacturing and processing tax rate at 10%. Saskatchewan also has one of the highest small business income threshold in Canada at $600,000. Another way we stay competitive is the Sask Party government's regulatory environment. Through the Red Tape Reduction Committee, of which I'm proud to be on, over the last decade has reviewed all business-related regulations for relevance, efficiency, and effectiveness. Red tape reduction efforts have saved businesses a total of $682.4 million since 2025. And of course, to promote these efficiencies to the world and to support trade and growth plan priorities, I must bring up again our international trade and investment offices. Offices that are located in Singapore, Tokyo, Japan, New Delhi, India, Shanghai, China, London, Dubai, Mexico, Ho Chi Minh, and Berlin. These trade offices are an integral part of keeping our relations with these countries. Our government has made a commitment for Saskatchewan to be the best location for investment. This commitment includes a strong, stable business environment with a host of incentives to support investment. To further build and diversify our economy and reach new markets, our government has introduced a collection of resources to serve as a guide for our province's economic expansion. This includes Saskatchewan's plan for growth, the province's critical mineral strategy, our labor market strategy, and of course the aforementioned Securing the Next Decade of Growth, Saskatchewan Investment Attraction Strategy. We even have a website, investsk.ca. We constantly invite investors to be part of the Saskatchewan Advantage. A diversified economy also brings job growth. March 2025 compared to March 2024, employment increased by 19,800 or 3.4%. Same period, full-time employment increased by 5,400 jobs or 1.1%. In March 2025, part-time employment increased by 14,000 jobs or 13.4% when compared to March 2024. Major year-over-year gains were reported for construction, increasing by 8,700 jobs or 24.2%. In March 2025, Saskatchewan's unemployment rate was 4.9%, lowest in the country and below the national rate of 6.7%. Saskatchewan's two largest cities in March of 2025 saw year-over-year growth. Saskatoon employment increased by 4,800 or 2.5%, and Regina also increased by 3,500, which is also 2.5%. In February 2025, high records were achieved in full-time employment at $483,100, and part-time employment at $122,100. As of March 2025, there are approximately 9,700 jobs posted on SAS Jobs. Mr. Speaker, the reason for having a diversified economy and the whole purpose of growth is to build strong families, strong communities, a better quality of life, and a bright future for everyone in Saskatchewan. A strong economy has afforded the government of Saskatchewan the ability to make significant investments in healthcare, infrastructure, education, and public services, which in turn build strong families and communities. Mr. Speaker, that is why I support the motion from the member of Kenora-Pelly that this Assembly supports the government's work in diversifying the economy, which had led to the second highest rate of job growth, lowest employment rate, and the highest rate of provincial capital investment in Canada. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
I recognize the member from Saskatoon Silver Spring.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you. It's a privilege again to rise in the Assembly to debate this motion. I just want to start off, Mr. Speaker, in terms of all the economic stats that they're high-fiving themselves over. Point number one, most of this data is already over a year old. That data ends March of 2024. So I'm very curious to know actually what the figures are today, because that's not the number that they're touting. But even with these old numbers, Mr. Speaker, Saskatchewan's GDP growth was mainly driven by transportation, mining, accommodation, and healthcare sectors, while agriculture, wholesale, manufacturing, and management services all declined. On that point, Saskatchewan has lost 7 to 8% of its head offices, 17% of its head office workers since 2018. And why is that important, Mr. Speaker? Well, it's because it's an important indicator as to whether or not companies want to do business here in Saskatchewan. So that doesn't really sound like growth that works for everyone, now does it? And it is important to note that from 2018 to 2024, Saskatchewan still had the second lowest economic growth rate among Canadian provinces, with only Newfoundland showing poor performance. This parallels nicely with this government's job growth record as well, which, by the way, is the worst job growth record since the Premier took office. Other provinces like PEI, Ontario, and even Nova Scotia had twice as much growth as Saskatchewan has had under this Premier. When you look at economic growth by economic sector over the past 7 years, you find that we still have 5 economic sectors that have declined in economic size during the Moe years, the Premier's years. Agriculture, forestry, fishing, and hunting is down almost 17%, construction down 2.2%, management of companies and enterprises down almost 90%, administrative support and waste management down 4.5%, accommodation and food services down 3.5%. And there are many other subsectors of the economy that have also declined over the last 7 years. Crop production is down 26% of all things, forestry down almost 15%, oil and gas down 5.62%, coal down 41%, and residential building construction down by almost 9%. Again, the level of economic growth they're touting compared to the rest of the country is actually underperforming, and everybody in this province, including businesses, business owners and workers, know it. And in 2024, Mr. Speaker, amazingly, the standard of living in Saskatchewan for the first time since the Great Depression has dropped by a whopping $2,323. And I think you can forget about all the economic hoopla they want to crow about as well, Mr. Speaker, as they are jeopardizing all of it by just not clearly denouncing the separatist movement in this province. Why is that important, Mr. Speaker? Because you can't diversify the economy if you're not a full partner at the table of confederation. Nothing can be moved in or out of this province without the permission of our neighbours or without a substantive agreement to do so. Businesses are already having difficulty navigating the current tariff upheaval and the anxiety about losing access to their markets down south, or at least having them curbed. It's already having an immediate impact on our industries and jobs. And any talk of separation, especially at a time like this, only compounds the uncertainty they are facing. So just put yourselves in the shoes of an investor who wants to put their money into Saskatchewan for a moment, Mr. Speaker, that sees a great opportunity to invest in any of our industries, who sees the great potential they have of making a good return on their investment. But wait, not so fast. Here comes a referendum on separating Saskatchewan from Canada, Mr. Speaker, facilitated by a government willingly asleep at the wheel, while a group who sits in their back pocket organizes and campaigns against the interests of this country and the good people of this province. Is that investor now willing to take that bet on Saskatchewan, or do they move on to another province, one who actually tries to work with other provincial and, God forbid, federal governments that provide the kind of political and economic stability they need to make prudent investment decisions? Any talk of separation is just like scoring an own goal. It is too costly and time-consuming to even contemplate. Instead of spending our energy on building up the province in Canada, this government is giving a nudge and a wink to separatists in a vain attempt to shore up their right flank. All the while, they're telling anyone from outside the province, first, don't move here because we may not be part of Canada for much longer, and second, don't invest here either because you can't guarantee your company's products or services can get accessed outside the province. And even with all the talk of separation aside, Mr. Speaker, what I've been finding, and what a lot of my colleagues on this side have been finding, in all of our many conversations with so many representatives from our business community and from Labour, whether that's in the mining sector, agriculture sector, potash sector, oil and gas sector, construction sector, trucking sector, you cannot have a credible plan to diversify the economy if you don't have a plan to build out the infrastructure of the province. Whether that's improving and expanding our highways, expanding our short-line rail system, the improvement of our airport facilities, and creating this new east-west infrastructure, you need a plan. And that, Mr. Speaker, is something we've not gotten from this government. There is no plan to improve and expand our highways, whether it be upgrading our paving standards, expanding our short-line rail facilities to take advantage of our access to the Port of Churchill, for example, or even build a plan to build more pipelines. The other side has been mocking those on this side for our supposed lack of support of those things. So I say to this government, when it comes to plan for highways, rail lines, power lines, and pipelines, show us the money. Show us your plan. Show the people of this province how you're going to get these things built. And as far as anyone in this province can tell, we're the only ones showing the will to do this, Mr. Speaker. So, Mr. Speaker, you cannot in any credible way say you want to diversify the economy without a plan to diversify, upgrade, and expand the very same infrastructure on which it depends. In fact, the only diversification plan this government really seems committed to right now is putting taxpayer monies into American companies in Texas, New Jersey, New York, and California. Too bad we are diversifying our tire recycling program through the United States. And how, quite frankly, can this government honestly expect to build that infrastructure if it was indeed really committed to that in the first place, if it wasn't committed to remaining in Canada? How do they expect to get this infrastructure built if you don't even want to be part or be at the same table as the rest of the country? How can you negotiate with the neighbouring provinces and a federal government when you are angling to become a junior partner at the table? What leverage has this government got in that scenario, and how can you expect any goodwill in that regard toward us from the rest of the country when you turn your back on it? And tariffs, Mr. Speaker. Tariffs are already affecting our local steel industries, our canola sector, our trucking sector, and many others, Mr. Speaker. So how can this government pretend to want to diversify the economy when it can't even demonstrate some kind of plan to support these industries that are already under fire? We didn't see it in the budget, Mr. Speaker, and when we talk with all of our stakeholders in all the many industries in this province, they have noticed its absence as well. Our industries are looking to this government to show them a way out of this tariff threat with a bona fide plan to assist them through this difficult time. And by not having a plan to deal with tariffs, or how they're even going to pay for it, or how they're going to provide access to other markets, and how they're going to do that, by the way, this government has left these industries completely on their own to find their own way through the devastating effects of these tariffs on their operations and on their workers. And now a curveball comes with the looming threat of potential separation referendum. This is not the kind of thing that engenders confidence in investing in this province and the people who live and work here. How can you diversify an industry, Mr. Speaker, if it doesn't survive these threats? So, Mr. Speaker, when this government gets up in this Assembly to brag about their awesome track record on the economy, quite frankly, it reminds me of the old adage, even a broken clock is right twice a day. Thank you.
The 65-minute period has now expired. The 10-minute question and answer period will now begin. I recognize the member from Saskatoon-Newawson.
Speaker, will the member from Moose Jaw-Wakima please tell the Assembly how many protections were put in place for jobs and workers against Donald Trump's tariffs?
Hear, hear. I recognize the member from Moose Jaw-Wakima.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This government has one of the strongest job creation records in this nation, and we will continue to support the policies that encourage private sector growth, that encourage and incent investment in our economy, and we'll just continue along that path.
Hear, hear.
Thank you.
I recognize the member from Kindersley-Biggar.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Speaker. To the member from Regina University, in your opening comments to this debate, you stated, and I quote, "I can't imagine trying to present Saskatchewan as a safe investment and somewhere where you want to do business. Where are you going? I don't know we're going to let the people have their say, and maybe we'll be part of Canada, maybe we won't." Mr. Deputy Speaker, this government will always support giving Saskatchewan people a choice, whether we agree or not. To the member from Regina University, do you support taking away the voices of Saskatchewan people who do not agree with your viewpoint? And will you continue to support your leader's bill that seeks to do so?
Hear, hear. Recognize the member from Regina University.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, and I'd like to thank the honourable member for the question, and to whatever issues manager who had to listen to my speech and pull that out of my quote, so they had something to talk about, Mr. Speaker. What I was saying in my comments, Mr. Speaker, is that how can you say to investors that this is a safe bet in Saskatchewan when you can't even say to the people of Saskatchewan that the right thing to do for investment is remain in the country, Mr. Speaker. And again, you know, we think and we know that people in Western Canada have legitimate grievances. We know that. Both the industries and the people of the province have been burned. We know that. But the way to solve that is to not cut off your nose and spite your face. There's a big difference between the West wants in and the West wants out, Mr. Speaker. And we believe, Mr. Speaker, over here, we believe that in order for everybody to succeed, that both the boardroom table and the kitchen table have to go hand in hand, unlike the honourable member for Kenora Pelly's blazer and tie, Mr. Speaker.
I recognize the member from Saskatoon-Silver Spring.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. You know, it's pretty simple. You know, if you want to nip this in the bud and provide that kind of assurance to our businesses, our industries, and the people that work here, you vote for our motion and make sure that this province stays in Canada. So, to the member, from Moose Jaw-Wakima, does that member think separating from Canada would benefit job growth in Saskatchewan?
I recognize the member from Moose Jaw-Wakima.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I'd like to thank the member opposite for the question. So, Mr. Speaker, our government believes in choice. We believe that choice is a good thing. Choice in export markets, choice in different types of power generation, and all of the above approach in power generation is an example of the choice that we want to offer the residents of this province. Thank you.
Hear, hear. I recognize the member from Yorkton.
On the 24th of March, the member from Regina Elphinstone Centre said the following about former Premier Blakeney. He stood up for Saskatchewan. He did that by imposing windfalls on our resources, by nationalizing portions of this industry, and then she claimed that it worked. Everyone in this province knows that the nationalization of our resources did not work.
Right.
And led to nothing but stagnation and job loss for years. Right. To the member from Saskatoon Silver Spring, do you support the nationalization of the potash industry?
I recognize the member from Saskatoon Silver Spring.
Mr. Speaker, I don't think Mr. Blakeney or anyone from that era of the NDP government has any lessons to learn from that side. I think they also had a few balanced budgets in the works back then, too. All of our questions and all of this debate, Mr. Speaker, has been about how we can support our industries, how we can diversify our economy, how we expand our trade markets, right? For potash, for oil, for gas, for agriculture, and yet we don't have a single plan from this government how to do it. So if they want to chase ghosts from the 1970s, that is not a plan for the 2020s.
Recognize the member from Regina University.
Much, Mr. Speaker. To the member from Moose Jaw Waccamaw, who represents in their riding, frankly, a number of some of the anxieties and issues we see that are indicators of not the province that is doing the best. Some of those indicators of anxiety about feeding your children, about high mortgage arrears, about homelessness, about healthcare outcomes. Mr. Speaker, with all those things where we're the lowest in the country in terms of education, healthcare, crime rates, mortgage arrears, how can she say to the members of her constituency that this is an economy that's working for them?
Recognize the member from Moose Jaw Waccamaw.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you to the member opposite for the question. This government is supporting policies, enacting policies that incent growth and investment. Right. And we're seeing that investment in the city of Moose Jaw. Right. We've seen Simpson Seeds actually moving up the value chain. They are opening in the process of building a lentil flour plant right now as we speak. Right. That's amazing. We also have Donald Fine Foods opening the first cell plant and processing plant in the country in a decade, in Moose Jaw, in Saskatchewan. Right. So this means jobs and growth in our city. These jobs and growth allow us to have the money and revenue to invest in the things that the residents of our community need.
Hear, hear. I recognize the member from Martensville, Blairmore.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Our government has been committed to strengthening our economy and creating more diverse trade networks for our products. That commitment and work is paying off. Our uranium exports are hitting new records, and we are rapidly hitting growth plans well ahead of time. Right. To the member from Regina University, do you commit today to never supporting the nationalization of our resource industry? And do you agree that this government has created the economic conditions that allow the industry to thrive?
Hear, hear. I recognize the member from Regina University.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Honestly, as a new member, I thought this might be kind of a tough question period, but it's obviously not. No, Mr. Speaker, I will never, ever, ever want to see something nationalized, Mr. Speaker, but I will absolutely not agree with the statement that they have created the economic conditions, and they're certainly not doing so right now with talk of separatism that drives away investment in this province, Mr. Speaker. Let's take that message to the C-suites of Calgary, where I've just been, Mr. Speaker, actually talking to some leadership in the oil and gas industry, and see what they say about their soft on separatism approach, Mr. Speaker. There's people in the House standing up for the people of Saskatchewan and standing up for our industry, standing up for pipelines, standing up for rail lines, and they're all sitting on this side of the House, Mr. Speaker.
The 75-minute debate period has now expired.
Private members, public bills and orders. Opposition priority item number 1. Second readings, item number 1, bill number 602, the Buy Local Day Act. MLA Young.
I recognize the member from Regina South Albert.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. It's a pleasure to be on my feet speaking to my first private member's bill in this assembly. Always a pleasure to be on my feet, Mr. Speaker. Always have a great time. But this is a really nice opportunity to talk about something that I hope actually we have agreement on both sides of the House on, Mr. Speaker, and that's the importance of buying local and supporting local. And now, Mr. Speaker, this is a bill that's actually been introduced in this assembly in the past. I believe about a decade ago, a similar bill, I should say, was introduced, which unfortunately died on the order paper. And I thought, what better time, Mr. Speaker, to bring this back? There's lots in this House that we disagree on, but as I said, I think this is a pretty simple feel-good bill that allows us all to celebrate the great work that entrepreneurs do in this province, the great work and the importance of small businesses here in Saskatchewan, Mr. Speaker. As I said, this simple feel-good bill looking to formalize the celebration of Buy Local Day here in Saskatchewan. And now, of course, in Saskatchewan, every day is Buy Local Day. But what a fun opportunity, Mr. Speaker, to highlight some of the incredible work that I know goes on in all of our communities, Mr. Speaker. We are the most entrepreneurial province in the country, something I'm very proud of, Mr. Speaker, both as a citizen and a small business owner myself. And what a wonderful opportunity for our small businesses to be able to showcase and celebrate maybe something special, maybe something unique to what they do. One day a month, Mr. Speaker. And this isn't about us. Nothing we do in this room or outside of it as servants of the public is about us. But to members opposite, I'd also submit this is a fun opportunity for every single one of us as local constituency MLAs to have one day a month where we can go out and in a great way celebrate some of the cool businesses that we are so privileged to represent. So members opposite, I'd say what a great chance that we have to showcase and celebrate these wonderful, wonderful operations within our communities. And Mr. Speaker, this is a good time for this as well. As I said, every day is Buy Local Day in Saskatchewan, but unfortunately, as we all know, small businesses in Saskatchewan have been facing some headwinds over the past 5 years. It's never an easy thing running a small business. It's something I know very well. The stress of hiring, of managing your staff, managing your finances, paying your taxes, cash flowing, finding access to capital, working with your customers, working with your suppliers. It's an all-consuming job, Mr. Speaker, much like being a public servant. There's never a day off. There's never a time that you get to, completely shut off from being an entrepreneur. And I know this is an experience shared by members on both sides of the House, Mr. Speaker, whether ourselves or our families, because Saskatchewan truly is the most entrepreneurial province in Canada.
But I was looking, Mr. Speaker, in the preparation of this bill and also in being able to put some comments on the record here today. Some of the experiences being reported by small businesses, specifically in Saskatchewan, Mr. Speaker, and I looked at the Small Business Barometer, which of course we know is released monthly, even in talking to entrepreneurs around this province, and small business confidence has taken a bit of a beating in the past 5 years, right? Starting with the pandemic, rolling through that, we've seen a lot of concerns obviously brought to the floor of this legislature around businesses that were forced to take on debt to navigate the pandemic, then obviously faced with the challenges of repaying those debts with increasing interest rates, the challenges that businesses have with some scarcity, some challenges around access to capital for those that are looking to grow and scale. And then, of course, more recently, the uncertainty that's been thrust upon the economy as a whole, but certainly small businesses as well when it comes to tariffs and you know, the whole Donald Trump effect over the last 5 months, which I'm not going to get into today, Mr. Speaker. But in looking at that business barometer, small business optimism is increasing, which is good. It was decreasing for about 5 years, Mr. Speaker. So we're starting to see some positive movement, which is real cause to celebrate. But only now, in this past month, is small business confidence back to the level it was at in March 2020. And for people who may not have a great grasp on time or space, like myself, March 2020 was the first month of the pandemic. Like, this was not a month of stability and confidence for many of us, and certainly for small businesses. So the fact that business confidence is only just now regained to that level of 2020, I think really underscores the anxiety and the challenges that exist in the SME space, Mr. Speaker. Looking again at some of the figures that are out there pertaining to small businesses, 14% of them are looking to hire as we head into the summer season, Mr. Speaker, but 17% are planning layoffs. There's negative employment plans for most businesses, Mr. Speaker, and I think it speaks to that kind of timidity that we see in slowly clawing our way back to not pre-pandemic, but pandemic levels of optimism, Mr. Speaker. There's a lot of things that are outside of the control of government, but one of the very simple things that I think any of us can do as leaders in this province is celebrate the good folks in our community, whether they're big or small businesses, Mr. Speaker, in the excellent work that they do.
You're here.
So again, Mr. Speaker, I don't think there's too much to say here. I think this is all pretty common ground for most of us, Mr. Speaker. We know about the higher impact of dollars spent in small businesses. We know that this helps reduce reliance on external resources. We know this builds strong community ties. We know the commitment that small businesses show to supporting charities, to supporting our schools, to supporting local groups and organizations, whether they're fundraising, looking for silent auction donations, looking to build a playground or stock a community fridge. We know that this leads to higher local retention, Mr. Speaker, and we also know, as we look to grow our province, that so many of our newcomers, Mr. Speaker, are fiercely entrepreneurial. I think back to some meetings some of my colleagues and I had the Coalition of Black SMEs here, and they talk about that fact that, like, it is a culture being entrepreneurial. You know, you have your 9 to 5, and then you have your small business, which is your goal. It is part of Saskatchewan, regardless of where you live, and this is, in fact, a very, very simple thing that I think this government, all members on the House could and hopefully will support unanimously, Mr. Speaker. So with that, I'm happy to conclude my remarks and move second reading on Bill number 602, the Buy Local Day Act.
Hear, hear.
It has been moved that Bill number 602, the Buy Local Act, be now read a second time. Is the Assembly ready for the question? recognize the member from Regina Douglas Park.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It's my pleasure to rise today and enter into this debate. I thank my colleague for her very thoughtful remarks on this very thoughtful bill. I know others are looking forward to joining in on this debate in later days. At this time, I move now to adjourn debate on the bill.
The member has moved to adjourn debate. Is it the pleasure of the Assembly to adopt the motion? Carried. Government House Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move that this Assembly do now adjourn.
It has been moved that the Assembly do now adjourn. Is it the pleasure of the Assembly to adopt the motion? Carried. This Assembly is adjourned until Monday at 1:30 p.m. Thank you. Safe travels.